Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth-ship Destiny and looked at the huge space station in front of him. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth. It had metal towers that reached out like arms into space. Lights blinked everywhere on its surface. This was the home of the Galactic Council, the group that ruled most of the known galaxy. Jake felt nervous, but excited. This was humanity's first official meeting with alien races. After years of traveling through space, alone Earth had finally found others. The journey to get here had taken 3 months using their new faster-than-light engines. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the station," said Dr. Lisa Grant from her science station. She was a smart woman with short brown hair and kind eyes. She had studied alien languages for years, preparing for this moment. "Put it on screen," Jake said. The main screen showed a creature that made Jake's stomach turn. It looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and black eyes. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. "Human vessel. You will dock at Bay 97. Do not touch anything. Do not speak unless spoken to. Your species is new and knows nothing." The signal cut off before Jake could respond. He looked around at his crew. Commander Ben Parker, his tactical officer, shook his head in disgust. "That's the welcome we get after coming all this way?" Dr. Grant checked her readings again. "Captain, I'm seeing something strange. Their ships show energy patterns that don't match their visible size. It's like parts of them are missing." Jake nodded but kept his focus on the docking procedure. The Destiny moved slowly toward the assigned bay. As they got closer, Jake saw alien ships everywhere. Some looked like crystals, others like flowing metal. All of them were much bigger than the Destiny. The docking bay was cold and empty except for a few robots that attached cables to their ship. Jake, Dr. Grant, and Commander Parker put on their best uniforms and walked down the ramp. The air smelled like chemicals and ozone. Waiting for them was the same insect creature from the screen. It was even more frightening in person, standing 8 feet tall with sharp claws on each of its 6 hands. "I am Zexithara, speaker for the council. You will follow me and speak only when asked questions." They walked through long metal hallways, filled with aliens Jake had never imagined. Some floated in the air like living clouds. Others had too many eyes or arms. None of them looked at the humans with anything but boredom or disgust. The council chamber was enormous. 12 beings sat on high platforms around a circular room. Each one represented a different alien race that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. In the center was a being made of pure energy that hurt to look at directly. "These are the humans," Zexthera announced. "Another carbon-based species that recently discovered fire." The energy being spoke with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Supreme Chancellor Thaisara. Your species is young and primitive. We have decided to allow you to exist in our galaxy, but with limits." Jake stepped forward. "We come in peace, hoping to learn and share knowledge with the council." Several of the aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. A creature that looked like a walking tree spoke up. "Share knowledge? What could a species that learned to fly only yesterday teach us?" Dr. Grant squeezed her scanner, getting readings on everything around them. The energy patterns were even stranger up close. These ancient beings had technology she couldn't understand, but something about it seemed incomplete. Chancellor Thaisara continued, "Humans will be given Class D status. You may settle 3 star systems. You may not build weapons beyond your current level. You may not contact other species without permission. You will send tribute to the council every year." Commander Parker's face turned red. "Tribute? We're not your slaves." The chamber fell silent. The energy being grew brighter, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "You are insects compared to us. We have ruled this galaxy since before your son was born. You will accept our terms or be removed." Jake put a hand on Parker's shoulder to calm him down. "We need time to discuss this with our government." "You have 1 week," the Chancellor said. "Return here with your answer." As they walked back to their ship, Dr. Grant whispered to Jake, "Captain, their technology is incredible, but I think they're missing something important. My scanners show massive blind spots in their sensor systems. Jake nodded. Something felt wrong about this whole meeting. These beings acted like they knew everything, but Dr. Grant was one of the smartest people he knew. If she saw problems with their technology, maybe they weren't as perfect as they claimed. Back on the Destiny, Jake sent a message to Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan would need to know about the Council's demands. He had a feeling this was just the beginning of humanity's problems with their new alien neighbors. As the Destiny left Nexus Prime, Jake looked back at the massive station. The Council thought humans were just another primitive species to control. They had no idea what humanity was really capable of when pushed into a corner. Dr. Grant was already working on her report about the strange energy readings. Something told Jake that her discoveries would be more important than anyone realized. The Council's arrogance might be their biggest weakness. The journey back to Earth would give them time to think. Jake had a feeling that when they returned, in a week, humanity's answer would surprise the Council more than they could imagine. 3 months had passed since Captain Jake Morrison's first meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth had accepted the Council's terms, but only on the surface. Humanity was now building colonies in their 3 allowed star systems, and everything looked normal to any alien observers. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in a secret underground facility on Earth, watching the most important project in human history. The room was filled with the best scientists and engineers from every nation. At the center of it all was Dr. Alex Chen, a quiet man who had just changed everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. "Show me again," Admiral Sullivan said. Dr. Chen smiled and held up what looked like an empty glass box. He pressed a button on a small device, and suddenly, the box contained a perfect metal sphere that seemed to shimmer and bend light around it. "This is dark matter manipulation," Dr. Chen explained. "We can build anything we want, and it will be completely invisible to normal sensors. Ships, weapons, entire space stations. The aliens will never see them coming." Maria Torres, the chief engineer, stepped forward. She was a woman who could build anything if given enough time and materials. "We've already started construction on the first ships. They exist in normal space but can't be detected by any known technology." Admiral Sullivan nodded. The Council thought they were dealing with primitive humans who barely understood space travel. They had no idea that Earth scientists had made a breakthrough that put human technology centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the Centauri system, humanity's first colony was taking shape. The colonists worked hard to build their new homes, but they weren't alone. Hidden in the darkness around their planet, construction robots built ships that no one could see. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis floated in a spacesuit near what looked like empty space. But his special helmet showed him the truth. Around him was the frame of humanity's first dark matter warship, the Phantom. It was bigger than any Earth ship ever built, and it was completely invisible. "How's the progress, Ryan?" came the voice of Dr. Torres through his radio. "We'll have the Phantom ready for testing in 2 weeks, Ryan replied. "The Wraith and Shadow are a month behind, but they'll be worth the wait." Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant worked in her lab, studying the data she had collected from the Council. She had been promoted to head of xenological studies after her discoveries about alien technology. The more she learned, the more worried she became. "Admiral Sullivan," she said during their weekly meeting, "I think the Council has a serious problem. Their technology is old and hasn't changed in thousands of years. They're so confident that they've stopped learning new things." Admiral Sullivan leaned forward. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they can't see what's right in front of them," Dr. Grant explained. "Their sensors have huge blind spots. They literally cannot detect dark matter constructions. To them, our new ships simply don't exist," the Admiral smiled. This was exactly what humanity needed to hear. In space, the Council occasionally sent inspection fleets to check on human colonies. Today, Admiral Vorketh of the Zenthari arrived at the human colony in the Ross system. The Zenthari were the Council's military force, proud warriors who loved to show their strength. Vorketh was a massive alien with gray skin and red eyes. He commanded a fleet of 50 ships that could destroy a planet. He looked at the human colony through his ship's screens and laughed. "Look at these humans," he told his officers. They build with metal and plastic like children. Their ships are metal cans held together by hope. What Vorketh didn't know was that right next to his flagship, the dark matter destroyer Wraith sat in perfect silence. Its captain, Commander Amy Foster, watched the alien ships through sensors that could see everything while remaining completely hidden. "Should we show them what we can do?" asked her tactical officer. "Not yet," Amy replied. "Admiral Sullivan wants to wait for the right moment." Vorketh decided to have some fun with the humans. He ordered his ships to perform training exercises near the human mining station. The exercises involved firing real weapons just close enough to scare the humans without actually destroying anything important. But Vorketh's gunners made a mistake. One blast hit the mining station directly, killing 200 human workers in an instant. The alien admiral shrugged when he heard the news. Accidents happen during training. Perhaps humans will learn to build stronger stations. The news reached Earth within hours. Admiral Sullivan stood in the secret command center, surrounded by her top officers. General Sam Rodriguez, Colonel Amy Foster's father, slammed his fist on the table. 200 people dead because that alien wanted to show off, he said. When do we stop hiding and fight back? Admiral Sullivan looked at the reports from their hidden shipyards. The dark matter fleet was almost ready. Dr. Chen's technology had proven itself in every test. The time for hiding was almost over. "Dr. Chen," she said, "how long until the Eclipse is operational?" Dr. Chen checked his computer. The Eclipse was their masterpiece, a dark matter dreadnought that was larger and more powerful than anything the Council had ever built. 2 weeks for full completion, he replied. But she's ready to fight now if needed. Admiral Sullivan made her decision. "Start preparing the fleet for deployment. The Council wants to play games with human lives. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that refuses to give up." On the hidden shipyards beyond Pluto, construction crews worked around the clock. The Phantom, Wraith, and Shadow were joined by dozens of smaller dark matter ships. Each one was invisible, deadly, and ready to defend humanity. Dr. Grant continued her analysis of Council behavior. She noticed something important. The aliens had become lazy. They expected every species to behave the same way, to use the same old technology, to follow the same predictable patterns. "They've been in charge so long that they can't imagine anyone challenging them," she told Admiral Sullivan. "That arrogance will be their downfall." As the days passed, more Council ships appeared near human colonies. They performed more exercises and made more threats. Each incident was carefully recorded and sent back to Earth, building a case for what was about to happen. The Council thought they were dealing with a weak species that would never fight back. They had no idea that in the darkness of space, an invisible fleet was waiting for the order to reveal humanity's true power. Soon, Admiral Sullivan thought, the galaxy would learn that humans were not the primitive species the Council believed them to be. The revelation would shake the foundation of everything the aliens thought they knew about the universe. The Great Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime had never seen such an angry gathering. Representatives from all 12 Council species sat in their high seats, their voices echoing through the massive chamber. The topic of discussion was humanity, and none of the aliens seemed happy about it. Supreme Chancellor Thisara floated at the center of the room, her energy form pulsing with irritation. For 3,000 years she had ruled the galaxy with absolute authority. Now, for the first time, she faced a problem that wouldn't simply disappear when she commanded it to. "The humans are becoming bold," announced Zexathera, the insect-like speaker. "They have built their colonies faster than expected. Their mining operations produce more resources than they should need. Something is not right." Admiral Vorketh stood up from his seat, his gray skin darker with anger. The Xanthari military leader was still embarrassed about the accident at the human mining station. Many in the Council blamed him for giving the humans a reason to complain. "They are still weak," Vorketh insisted. "I have inspected their fleets, personally. They have only old ships with primitive weapons. One Xanthari battle group could destroy their entire space force in an hour." But other Council members disagreed. The Veltari representative, a creature that looked like a walking tree with golden leaves, had been studying human behavior. "Their growth patterns are unusual. Most species become fearful after we establish dominance. Humans seem to be adapting. The energy being at the center grew brighter, causing several aliens to shield their eyes. Enough debate. The human problem requires a final solution. They have been given chances to prove their worth and have failed. Through her private communication link, Dr. Lisa Grant listened to the entire conversation from her hidden monitoring station in the asteroid belt. Earth had managed to place tiny listening devices throughout Nexus Prime during their first visit. The Council's security was impressive, but they had never considered that humans might think differently about espionage. Admiral Sullivan, Dr. Grant whispered into her communicator. You need to hear this. The Council is planning something big. Back on Earth, Admiral Sullivan stood in the secret command center with her top staff. The room was filled with screens showing the positions of every Council ship in the galaxy. Hidden dark matter sensors, invisible to alien technology, tracked movements that the Council thought were secret. They're moving major fleets toward our space, reported Colonel Amy Foster, who had recently been promoted to fleet intelligence. 300 ships are gathering at the edge of our territory. General Sam Rodriguez studied the tactical displays. That's enough firepower to sterilize every human world. They're not planning to negotiate anymore. On the main screen, the Council's debate continued. Chancellor Thisara was speaking about humanity's future, and her words chilled everyone who heard them. The humans will be reduced to a single star system, she declared. Earth will remain under direct Council supervision. All human space vessels will be destroyed. All human colonies will be abandoned. This species will serve as workers for more deserving races. The vote was unanimous. 12 alien species representing billions of creatures across the galaxy had decided humanity's fate without asking a single human what they thought about it. They have 72 hours to accept these new terms, Forketh added with satisfaction. After that, my fleets will enforce the Council's will. Dr. Grant felt sick as she listened. These beings spoke about destroying human civilization like they were discussing the weather. To them, humanity was nothing more than an inconvenience to be removed. Admiral Sullivan received the transmission and immediately called an emergency meeting. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral after his diplomatic work with the Council, attended via secure video link from his ship in the outer colonies. The Council has made their decision, Admiral Sullivan announced to the room full of military leaders. They want to reduce humanity to slaves working on a single world. The silence that followed was heavy with anger and determination. These were people who had spent their entire careers protecting Earth and human interests. The idea of surrendering to alien masters was unthinkable. What's the status of our dark matter fleet? Asked Admiral Morrison from his screen. Dr. Alex Chen, who looked tired after months of intense work, gave his report. The Eclipse is fully operational. We have 57 dark matter ships ready for combat, with more coming online every day. Our weapons testing shows we can destroy any Council ship in a single hit. Maria Torres added, The invisibility systems are perfect. We've tested them against our own sensors, and even we can't detect the ships unless we know exactly where to look. Admiral Sullivan looked around the room at faces filled with resolve. These people had watched the Council treat humanity like insects for months. They had seen human colonists killed in training exercises. They had listened to aliens debate whether humans deserve to live or die. The question before us is simple, she said. Do we accept slavery, or do we fight for our freedom? General Rodriguez was the first to speak. My family didn't fight in wars for centuries just so aliens could chain us now. I say we show them what humans are really made of. One by one, every person in the room agreed. The vote was unanimous, just like the Council's vote had been. But where the aliens chose oppression, humanity chose resistance. Dr. Chen, Admiral Sullivan said, is the Eclipse ready for its first real mission? The scientist nodded. She's the most advanced warship ever built. Dark matter construction, quantum weapons, shield systems that bend space itself. The Eclipse could fight the entire Council fleet and win. Admiral Morrison spoke from his screen. I'll return to Council space with their answer. When they see our response, they'll realize they made a serious mistake. As the meeting ended, Admiral Sullivan walked to the window overlooking the secret shipyard. In the darkness outside, she could see nothing but empty space. But she knew that dozens of invisible ships waited there, ready to defend humanity against any threat. The Council thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would surrender when faced with overwhelming force. They had no idea that humans had built a fleet they couldn't see, using technology they didn't understand. In 72 hours, Admiral Vorketh would arrive with his massive armada, expecting to find desperate humans ready to beg for mercy. Instead, he would discover that humanity had been preparing for this moment since their first humiliating encounter with the Council. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had a saying: "Don't mistake kindness for weakness." The Council's arrogance had blinded them to humanity's true nature. Soon that blindness would cost them everything they thought they knew about power in the galaxy. As Admiral Sullivan gave the final orders to prepare for battle, she felt a mixture of sadness and determination. War was never the preferred choice, but sometimes it was the only choice that allowed a species to remain free. The edge of human space had never seen so many ships in one place. Admiral Vorketh's massive fleet spread across the star system like a metal cloud. 300 Council warships, each one bigger and more powerful than anything humans had ever built, waited in perfect formation. On the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, Vorketh studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. His red eyes gleamed as he counted the enemy ships facing him. 30 human vessels hung in space ahead, looking small and helpless compared to his mighty armada. "Look at them," Vorketh said to his tactical officer. "They know they cannot win, yet they still refuse to surrender. Humans are either very brave or very stupid." Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Liberty, watching the Council fleet through his viewscreen. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew this battle would decide humanity's future. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Council flagship." "Put it on screen, Morrison," replied. Vorketh's massive form appeared on the main display. The alien commander's voice was full of confidence and contempt. "Human Admiral, you have 30 ships against my 300. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. Your armor is paper compared to ours. Surrender now, and I will make your deaths quick." Morrison looked directly into the alien's red eyes. His voice was calm and steady. "Admiral Vorketh, on behalf of humanity, I decline your generous offer." The Council commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Then you will watch your species die for your foolish pride. Attack formation. Destroy them all." The Council fleet moved forward like a wave of death. Energy weapons charged, missiles loaded, and targeting systems locked onto the human ships. For a moment, space was filled with deadly silence. Then the battle began. Light filled the void as hundreds of alien weapons fired at once. The human ships scattered, their shields sparking under the massive assault. Several ships took heavy damage immediately. One human destroyer exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from light years away. Vorketh watched the destruction with pleasure. "Close in for the final strike. Let's end this quickly." His fleet moved closer, preparing to finish off the remaining human ships. The aliens were so focused on their easy victory that none of them noticed the subtle changes in the space around them. Deep in the asteroid belt behind the human fleet, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in the command center of the Eclipse. The massive dark matter dreadnought was completely invisible to Council sensors, as were the 50 ships of her hidden fleet. "All ships report ready," announced Colonel Amy Foster from her tactical station. Dr. Lisa Grant, now serving as the fleet's xenological warfare specialist, studied the Council formation. "They've taken the bait perfectly. Their ships are clustered together, just like we hoped." Admiral Sullivan activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Eclipse. Actual. Execute Protocol Dark Revelation. Show them what humanity can really do." In the space around the Council fleet, reality seemed to tear apart. Weapons fire erupted from empty space, striking Council ships with impossible accuracy. Energy beams that seemed to come from nowhere, sliced through alien armor like paper. On the Dominator's bridge, chaos erupted. "What's happening?" Vorketh roared at his tactical officer. "Unknown contacts firing from multiple directions," the officer screamed back. "I can't get locks on anything. The weapons are coming from empty space." A massive explosion rocked the Dominator as invisible cannons tore into its hull. Warning lights flashed throughout the ship as systems failed one by one. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vorketh felt fear. The Eclipse revealed its weapons just long enough to fire, then disappeared again into the darkness between atoms. Its quantum cannons could punch through any Council shield, while its dark matter armor made it invulnerable to return fire. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis monitored the battle from the Phantom's engineering section. Around him, dark matter conduits channeled impossible amounts of energy to weapons that existed in the spaces between normal matter. "Wraith and Shadow are reporting successful hits on enemy command ships," he announced to his captain. "The Council fleet is in complete chaos." Captain Morrison watched from the Liberty as Council ships exploded around invisible attackers. His damaged fleet was forgotten as the aliens tried desperately to fight enemies they couldn't see. "Sir," his tactical officer said with amazement, "the Council is shooting at empty space. They have no idea where our ships are." Dr. Grant coordinated the attack from her position on the Eclipse. Years of studying alien psychology had prepared her for this moment. Target their command vessels first. Without leadership, their formation will collapse. The dark matter fleet moved through the Council formation like ghosts of war. They struck from impossible angles, disappeared before return fire could be targeted, and reappeared in new positions to strike again. Admiral Vorketh's flagship shuddered under another invisible assault. Half his bridge crew was dead and his ship was falling apart around him. "All ships retreat, full retreat." But it was too late. The Eclipse appeared directly in front of the Dominator, its massive form suddenly visible as it charged its main weapons. The dark matter dreadnought was twice the size of any Council ship, covered in armor that bent light around it. "This is Admiral Sullivan," came a human voice over all Council communication channels. "Your ship is disabled, Admiral Vorketh. Order your remaining vessels to withdraw, or we will destroy them all." Vorketh stared at the impossible ship floating before him. Its design was unlike anything in Council databases. The energy readings his sensors showed were beyond anything his technology could measure. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans are primitive. This cannot be real." Another wave of invisible ships attacked his fleet. Council vessels that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia were being destroyed by weapons they couldn't see. The mighty Xanthari military, proud conquerors of 100 worlds, was being defeated by enemies that might as well have been made of starlight. "Admiral," his communications officer called weakly, "we're receiving retreat orders from 37 ships. They're requesting permission to withdraw." Vorketh looked at his tactical display. Of his 300 ships, less than 50 were still capable of fighting. The rest were either destroyed or so damaged they couldn't move. The humans had achieved this in less than 2 hours. "Signal general retreat," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "All ships withdraw immediately." The surviving Council vessels limped away from the battle zone, many of them trailing atmosphere and debris. Behind them, the invisible human fleet maintained perfect formation, ready to continue the fight if necessary. Admiral Sullivan watched the retreat from the Eclipse's bridge. "Let them go. They'll carry word of this back to the Council." As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, the human fleet revealed itself fully. 57 advanced warships shimmered into visibility, their dark matter hulls reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Captain Morrison opened a communication channel to every inhabited system in the galaxy. His message was simple but carried the weight of revolution. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Terran Defense Force. Humanity rejects the Council's authority. We claim our right to exist as equals among the stars." The transmission included complete, tactical data from the battle, showing exactly how human technology had overwhelmed the supposedly superior Council fleet. Across the galaxy, species that had lived under Council rule for thousands of years suddenly realized that the impossible had happened. The mighty council, rulers of the galaxy, had been defeated by the species they called primitive. The council chamber on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. For the first time in 10,000 years, the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in absolute silence. The reports from Admiral Vorketh's fleet were spread before them, but none of the council members seemed able to process what they were reading. Supreme Chancellor Thisara's energy form flickered weakly, her usual bright glow dimmed to almost nothing. 300 ships destroyed or damaged by an enemy that couldn't be seen. Weapons that fired from empty space. Technology that made the Council's ancient knowledge look like cave paintings. Zexthera, the insectoid speaker, tried to make sense of the tactical data. Her 6 arms trembled as she held the reports. The humans attacked from 37 different positions simultaneously. Our sensors showed nothing but empty space at each location. The Veltari representative, whose golden leaves had turned brown with stress, spoke in a whisper. "How is this possible? We have ruled the galaxy since before their star was born. Our technology is perfect." Admiral Vorketh stood before the council, his gray skin pale and his red eyes dim. The proud Zenthari warrior who had never known defeat looked broken. They appeared from nowhere, ships larger than anything we've built, weapons that could destroy our best vessels with single shots. Our entire fleet was helpless. Across the galaxy, news of the impossible battle spread faster than light itself. On 100 worlds, species that had lived under council rule began asking questions they had never dared ask before. In the crystal cities of Altair, the Velnari stopped their daily tribute shipments to Nexus Prime. If humans could defeat the council, maybe others could too. On the desert world of Kepler-7, the nomadic Zarthek tribes declared their independence for the first time in 5,000 years. At a secret facility beyond Earth's moon, Dr. Alex Chen and his team monitored communications across the galaxy. The quantum detection grid they had built using dark matter technology was picking up rebel transmissions from dozens of systems. Admiral Sullivan, Dr. Chen reported, "We're seeing uprisings in 17 sectors. The Council's control is collapsing, faster than we expected." Admiral Sullivan stood in the command center of the Eclipse, watching the tactical displays that showed the changing political map of the galaxy. Each red dot represented a world in revolt against Council authority. "This is what happens when people realize their oppressors aren't gods," she said to Dr. Lisa Grant, who was analyzing alien communication patterns. Dr. Grant nodded as she studied the data flowing across her screens. The psychological impact was perfect. We didn't just defeat their fleet. We shattered their myth of invincibility. On Nexus Prime, the Council continued their emergency session. For hours, they had tried to understand how humanity had hidden such advanced technology. Their best scientists, beings who had mastered space travel when Earth was still forming, could not explain what they had witnessed. "Perhaps the humans stole this technology," suggested one council member, a floating jellyfish-like creature from the rim worlds. Chancellor Thisara's energy form pulsed weakly. "From whom? We know every species in the galaxy. None of them possess such capabilities." The truth was slowly sinking in. Humanity hadn't stolen their technology. They had invented it. A species the Council considered barely capable of space travel had created weapons and ships that made Council technology look ancient. Admiral Morrison's transmission played again on the chamber's main screen. The human's calm words echoed through the silent room. "Humanity rejects the Council's authority. We claim our right to exist as equals among the stars." Zexthara's mandibles clicked nervously. "How do we respond? What can we say to this?" The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. For 10,000 years, the Council had responded to challenges with overwhelming force. But how do you fight an enemy you cannot see? How do you threaten a species that can appear anywhere, strike with impossible weapons, then vanish like they were never there? On Earth, the celebrations had been going for 3 days. Every city on the planet was filled with people celebrating humanity's victory over the alien oppressors. But in the secret facilities where the dark matter fleet was built, the real heroes worked quietly to prepare for what came next. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis supervised the construction of new dark matter shipyards throughout human space. The fleet that had defeated Vorketh was just the beginning. Within a year, humanity would have hundreds of invisible ships patrolling the galaxy. Dr. Chen was already working on the next breakthrough, dark matter cities that could house millions of people while remaining completely invisible. Manufacturing facilities that could build anything humanity needed without alien interference. The possibilities were endless. "We're not just defending ourselves anymore," Admiral Sullivan told her staff during their daily briefing. "We're offering hope to every species that wants to be free." Indeed, representatives from a dozen rebel worlds had already made contact with humanity. The Kepler nomads, the crystal dwellers of Altair, the gas swimmers of Titan Prime. All of them wanted to learn about human technology and join the growing resistance against Council rule. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council faced a crisis that threatened to destroy everything they had built. Their member species were beginning to question why they should follow leaders who couldn't protect them from primitive humans. The Zenthari military was demanding revenge, but they had no idea how to fight. Invisible ships. The Veltari scientists were studying the battle data obsessively, trying to understand technology that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Chancellor Thaisara finally spoke, her voice weak and uncertain. "We must respond to the human transmission. The galaxy is watching." But what could they say? That the mighty council, rulers of 1,000 worlds, had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as insects? That their perfect technology had been shown to be obsolete by creatures who had only learned to fly yesterday? Hours passed as the council debated. Some wanted to declare war on humanity, others suggested negotiation. A few even proposed surrendering and accepting humans as equals. But none of them could agree on what to do about a problem they had never faced before. Finally, Zexathara was chosen to record the council's official response. The insectoid being stood before the communication array, trying to find words that would restore the council's dignity. "Humans," she began, then stopped. What could she say that wouldn't make the council look weak? "The council acknowledges..." She tried again, but the words stuck in her throat. Acknowledging humanity's power would encourage other rebellions. For long minutes, Zexathara stood silent before the transmission device. Around her, the most powerful beings in the galaxy waited for words that would never come. The response that finally went out to the galaxy was nothing but stammering confusion and long silences. Where once the council spoke with absolute authority, now they could barely form coherent sentences. Admiral Sullivan watched the pitiful transmission from her command center. The beings who had once treated humanity with such contempt now couldn't even respond to a simple message. "Sometimes," she said to her staff, "the greatest strength isn't what others can see. It's what they never imagined existed." Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for thousands of years heard the council's stammering response and realized that their oppressors were just as confused and frightened as anyone else. The myth of council perfection, built over millennia of careful propaganda, crumbled in a single day. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had not just won a battle. They had started a revolution that would free countless worlds from alien tyranny. And it had all begun because a group of humans refused to accept that they were inferior to anyone. In the darkness of space, the invisible fleet continued its patrol. Earth's children stood guard over the galaxy's new age of freedom, ready to defend it against any threat. The Council had learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon was not their dark matter ships or quantum cannons. It was their refusal to bow down to anyone who claimed to be their master.